Hey everyone. Before we dive into the story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and what time it is there. That way YouTube will keep showing you more stories just like this one. Alright, let's get started. This happened about a year ago when I was 22, working part-time as a food delivery driver for a small local restaurant in Cedarfield, Ohio. Cedarfield isn't anything special, just a quiet suburban town with a decent downtown area and rows of residential streets lined with identical two-story houses. Pretty much the definition of middle-class America. I took the delivery job mainly to save up some extra money while looking for something better. It wasn't glamorous, but the tips were decent, and most of the time, people were polite. It was a Thursday night, around 9:30 p.m. Not too late, but late enough that most families were settling down for the evening. I was just finishing my shift when the manager called me over and handed me one last delivery slip. "One more run, man. The house is only about 7 minutes out. Easy money." I sighed and nodded. I'd already half mentally checked out for the night, but whatever. It was an easy $20 after tip. The order was simple, a family-sized pasta and garlic bread. The address was on Willow Creek Lane, a newer subdivision just off the main highway. These newer houses all looked the same, clean, cookie-cutter designs, small front yards, and two-car garages. Nothing creepy about it, at first. I punched the address into my phone's GPS and set off. The neighborhood was unusually quiet when I pulled in. No kids playing outside, no dogs barking, no porch lights, just rows of darkened houses. It was strange. Most suburban neighborhoods, even at night, had some signs of life. I found the house easily enough. 378 Willow Creek Lane. It looked the same as the others. White siding, black shutters, trimmed lawn. The porch light was on, but the rest of the windows were dark. I grabbed the food bag, walked up the stone path to the front door, and knocked twice. No answer. I waited about 20 seconds, then knocked again, louder. Still nothing. I checked the receipt. Maybe I got the wrong house. Nope. It matched perfectly. I knocked a third time, feeling annoyed now. It was a prepaid order, so I didn't need cash. I just had to drop it off and get back. I was about to leave the bag on the porch when I heard the door creak open just a few inches. "Hello?" I called out. No reply, just the door, slowly inching open wider by itself. It wasn't the wind. There was no breeze. From where I stood, I could see a narrow sliver of the interior. Just a dim hallway leading deeper into the house. No movement. No voices. "Hey, your food's here," I said, raising my voice. Nothing. I should have just left the bag and bolted. Every instinct told me to. But against my better judgment, I took one cautious step closer. The smell hit me first. Something damp and metallic. Not rotting garbage, not food. Something worse. My stomach twisted. I leaned into the doorway and tried again. "Hello? You ordered food?" From deeper inside the house, I heard something. Shuffling. Soft, dragging footsteps, getting closer. I backed up a step instinctively. This felt wrong. Everything about this felt wrong. The footsteps stopped just out of sight, maybe 10 or 15 feet away. Then a voice, low, raspy. "Come in." I froze. No thanks. Every self-preservation instinct I had screamed at me to turn around and leave. Instead, I politely said, "Can you come grab it? I'm not supposed to go inside." Silence. For a few long seconds, there was nothing. Then the voice again, firmer. "Come in." Something about the way it was said made my skin crawl. Not a request, a command. I took another step back, heart hammering now, and that's when I noticed it. There were faint handprints on the inside of the door. Not normal handprints, smudged, dirty. It was as if someone had pressed their palms against the wood for hours, leaving greasy, smeared marks all over it. I dropped the food bag on the welcome mat and backed away fast. "I'm leaving your order here," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Have a good night." No response. Just the door slowly swung wider as I backed off the porch. I turned and hurried back to my car, not looking back. As I opened the driver's side door, I heard it. A low, wet cough. Coming from the bushes near the side of the house. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and threw the car into reverse, tires squealing slightly as I backed out of the driveway. As I pulled onto the main road, I glanced into my rearview mirror. For a split second, I saw it. A figure steps out onto the porch, just standing there, watching me. I couldn't make out details. It was tall, thin, and completely motionless. I didn't slow down. I didn't stop. I didn't even breathe until I hit the main road and was well out of that neighborhood. Back at the restaurant, I told my manager what had happened. He laughed it off. Probably just some drunk college kids messing with you. Maybe. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that. Drunk kids don't leave weird handprints on doors. They don't smell like something died inside their house. And they sure as hell don't stand in complete silence, half hidden in the dark. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept replaying everything in my head. The smell, the voice, the handprints, the cough. The next day, I couldn't help myself. I Googled the address. What I found made my blood run cold. The house had been empty for 6 months. Foreclosure. Previous owner, an elderly man, was found dead inside, alone, no family, no next of kin, and worse, he hadn't been found for 2 whole weeks. By the time the bank repossessed the house, it had been abandoned long enough for everything inside to rot, which meant whoever, or whatever, was inside that house last night wasn't supposed to be there. Or maybe it had never left. Now, every time I get a late night delivery, especially out in the quieter suburbs, I still hesitate, still check my surroundings, still get that awful cold feeling in my gut. Because deep down, I know one thing for sure. Not every door you knock on wants to let you leave again. And sometimes you don't even realize how close you came until it's too late. My name's Eli. I'm 27, and I used to work the night shift at Iron Core Fitness, a 24-hour gym in downtown Providence, Rhode Island. It was a relatively small, privately owned place, not one of those huge commercial chains. And the owner, Mrs. Callahan, trusted me to hold down the fort during the slow hours between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Most nights were quiet, boring even. A handful of regulars came in late, insomniacs, night shift workers, and a couple of bodybuilders who liked the silence of the place after hours. But on the night that still keeps me up years later, I was alone. No regulars, no new faces, just me. Around 1:15 a.m., I was sitting behind the front desk with my earbuds in, half watching an old martial arts movie on my phone. I always kept an eye on the gym floor through the glass wall behind the desk, but that night, every treadmill, rack, and bench was completely empty. Until the motion-activated camera screen above the front desk flickered. The screen showed the view from the hallway that led to the locker rooms. I looked up, squinting, and saw someone in the feed, a tall man wearing a long dark coat, just entering the men's locker room. I hadn't heard the door chime, which meant he must have slipped in quietly. That wasn't totally unheard of. Sometimes the sensor missed someone if they slipped in fast. I checked the sign-in sheet. Blank. No key fob scan on the screen either. We had a policy. Everyone had to scan in, even guests. So I got up, walked over to the locker room hallway, and called out, "Excuse me, sir? Did you sign in?" No answer. I hesitated. Then I knocked lightly on the men's locker room door and called again. "Sir, gym policy says all members and visitors have to check in." Still nothing. Now, the gym's locker rooms weren't huge. 3 changing benches, 4 shower stalls, a couple of sinks, and a small sauna room at the far end. I opened the door slowly, peeking inside. It was empty. The lights were still on. Not a sound. I stepped in, heart ticking a little faster. I don't scare easily, but there was a weird heaviness in the air, the kind of stillness that doesn't feel natural. "Hello," I called again, louder. Nothing. Then I noticed it. The red light was glowing on the sauna room door. Someone was inside. That door didn't have a lock. People often left it open when it wasn't in use. But it was shut now, heat billowing faintly from underneath. I walked over and knocked. "Sir, you're not supposed to use the sauna unless you've checked in. I need to confirm your ID." Still nothing. I pressed my ear against the wood. Inside, I could hear something soft, like breathing, but strange. Uneven, almost like wheezing. "Sir?" I asked again. Then I heard something that chilled my blood. A whisper, not muffled or confused. Clear. Deliberate. "Don't open it." I stepped back, adrenaline suddenly roaring through my veins. I had no idea what the hell was going on. Was someone messing with me? A prank? I didn't wait to find out. I walked back to the front desk, trying to calm myself. I watched the hallway camera feed. No one came out. I pulled up the rest of the cameras. Nothing on the weight room floor, nothing in the cardio area. The locker room hallway is still quiet. And the sauna camera, black. The infrared sensor had been broken for weeks. That was when the power cut out. All the lights in the gym died at once. My screen flickered, then shut off. The only illumination came from the emergency backup lights over the exit signs and the faint red glow still coming from the sauna hallway. I sat there, frozen. Then, somewhere deep in the building, I heard something slam. Not like a door, not like weights, like wood cracking. I grabbed the emergency flashlight from under the desk and stood up, every instinct in my body telling me not to go back there. But I couldn't just sit there. If someone was having a breakdown in the sauna, I had to intervene. I walked down the hall again. The air was hot, unnaturally so. Even before I reached the locker room, I could feel sweat forming on my neck. When I reached the sauna, I realized the red light was off. The door was wide open. Steam poured out into the hallway, thick and heavy like fog. I pointed the flashlight inside. Empty. The wooden bench inside had been split down the middle, as if someone had slammed it with a bat or jumped on it. The rocks had been scattered, and written into the steam on the glass was a single word: run. That was it. I turned and bolted. Back at the front desk, I hit the panic button under the register that automatically called the police. I didn't even wait. I ran outside into the parking lot, the cold air slapping me like a wake-up call. I waited there until the police arrived 10 minutes later. They checked the building. No one inside, no signs of forced entry, no names in the system that matched anyone who could have been in there that night. When I asked to see the camera footage, they told me the DVR system had failed the moment the power went out. Nothing had been recorded, everything gone. Mrs. Callahan came in at 6 a.m. and called in an electrician to check the breaker. They said there had been no surge, no blown fuse. Nothing should have caused the outage. I told her what happened. She believed me. Because it wasn't the first time. 2 years prior, a woman on the night shift had reported someone entering the women's locker room and disappearing. When she checked, the sauna light was on, but the room was empty. She quit the next day. I stayed another week. Then I left too. The gym's still open. They upgraded the cameras, installed motion sensors, but I still drive past it sometimes and feel that same heat rise in my chest. The fear, the unease, that whisper, don't open it. And I wonder, was it a warning or a threat? After nearly 2 years of living in Seattle with my now ex-boyfriend, I moved back to my childhood home in rural Idaho. Breakups are rarely clean, but this one left me emotionally gutted and financially unstable. I couldn't afford to stay in the city, and with no lease and few friends left, going back home was my only option. My parents lived just outside a small town called Rigby, population around 4,000. It's the kind of place where the only 24-hour businesses are gas stations and a single diner that never looks open. They were happy to have me back, and I was grateful, even if being in that house again felt like a regression. To stay afloat, I picked up night shifts at a veterinary clinic 2 towns over. I didn't mind the overnight hours. No customers, quiet environment, and the vet techs on staff were kind enough. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. It was a Thursday.